Were you surprised at all at like how much of your storytelling was part of this season?
Yeah, I was definitely pleasantly surprised. Being the losing finalist, I didn't necessarily think I was going to have one of the more narration heavy edits of the season. So very honored to get as much as I did. So I always thought I could be an okay like confessionalist. So it was kind of vindicating in a way, seeing that they liked what I was putting on the tape there.
Absolutely. And talking about the zero vote finalists, you did call out Fishback as like the big fan you are. I personally watched Rob has a podcast with Fishback, and he said you and your story was so close to his heart. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel great. I've been a patron of Rob's actually for like 5 years, so I've listened to the know-it-alls a lot. And no, I mean, I think my game resonated with a lot of fans. I always said going in, my floor was Jacob Derwin, my ceiling was Adam Klein. I hope I land somewhere in the middle and just don't totally implode. And I think the frustrations, the just my whole ride, I think uh, I've seen a lot of people say like I kind of was like the avatar for a lot of the fan base. And I'm honored to kind of have that position and be seen as relatable to a lot of people.
Now, to talk more about your game, why do you think you weren't able to ingratiate yourself into the in crowd for these
Oh,
votes?
it wasn't for a lack of trying, I'll tell you that. I mean, I remember the day Janine went home, she and I were going all over the beach, trying to get Carla, trying to get Cass, trying to kind of get all the women together. And I don't know what it was. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like I'm glad most people have not speculated like, oh, Owen must be really awkward and weird and like just not nice to be around. I don't think it was that, but I think finding myself in the minority after the Ellie vote and then not having as much runway to work with in terms of just an hours per day standpoint. Um, I think chopping off 13 days of the game, I don't take as much issue with it as many fans do, but I do think intrinsically there is a big difference in terms of like how much time you have to strategize. Because after a challenge, you only have so many hours until you go to tribal council. Some people are off doing confessionals, and not having that extra day in between really accelerates the strategizing that needs to happen. And I think it makes it slightly easier for the status quo to be maintained. So it is what it is.
So let's talk about how you did want to make fire because you knew that could be a good resume builder. Um, I just talked to Cassidy, and she said that Gabler actually wasn't that gung ho about making fire beforehand. And then when they were in front of the jurors, it's like, yes, I'm ready. And you felt the same way. I did question if she thought that hurt her chances of winning if two people beside her are like, yeah, we want to go up against Jesse to make fire. How hard did you fight to be that person next to Jesse?
Yeah. Not as hard as I wanted to be honest. I think the show was pretty generous in the edit, to be honest. I was very deflated after the challenge. Like you saw me smash my pole on the ground. Like I knew the only shot I had to win the game was to win the challenge, pull a Chris Underwood, take off the necklace, take out Jesse myself. I knew that that was my path to victory, even if that would be enough. Like I knew that was my best shot. So I was feeling really down on myself. You can kind of see it in my face in that confessional, kind of in the ravine there. Like I was just the wind was out of my sails. So I wish I had fought harder. Like I certainly brought it up to Cass, but I think we both had this perception that Gabler was not a serious contender. And that's our own blind spot. Like I don't he deserves to win. I believe every winner deserves to win, but our perception at the time was that he was the third place finisher already, and so it wouldn't be that harmful. She didn't want to give me that resume point, as she said, but yeah, he was. We were feeding him coconut all day. Like really, he was really dragging by the end there. So I think there were some ups and downs to his confidence level, as there were to mine. So it was a complicated day, and I do feel for her having to make that decision. But for me, it would have been I would have had to go kind of balls to the wall there and take off the necklace.
Yeah. You knew you had to go in with your underdog story. Um you, why do you think this time the underdog story didn't work for the jurors?
Hmm. Um, for me, I didn't have a whole lot of like moves on my resume. And I keep saying resume in these interviews. I hate the concept of a survivor resume, but I think objectively speaking, it's fair to say I did not drive a whole lot of strategy this season. And that's okay. Like I can live with that. Watching Final Tribal back at the time, I thought I did a really good job with what I had to work with, but I probably could have changed my tone a little bit. I think I was maybe a little too self-deprecating, maybe a little bit too humble, but I knew going in there I couldn't pretend I was this master strategist this whole time and ha ha ha, I got you. I made you think I was Charlie Brown when really like I had all these machinations. Like I knew I couldn't do that. So I just think they wanted someone more strategically relevant to be the winner, but I mean, you saw my reaction. I was flabbergasted by the result.
Yeah, yeah. Well, oh, I was gonna ask about that. What was going through your mind of like, oh my God, Gabler won?
Basically that was my reaction. Just like, holy shit, like is this happening? Like it felt like I did not see it coming. And like I said, he deserves it. Like they clearly the jury was really enjoying him during Final Tribal. And that's when I was like, uh-oh, like what's happening here? Just how much he was making them laugh and everything. Um, so yeah, I just thought I was surprised, but that's showbiz.
Yeah. Okay. We had a live tribal when Carla knew her time was coming.
Mhm.
What were you pushing for to happen in that tribal?
Yeah, I did want Carla to go home. I was much more threatened by Carla's challenge ability, and I knew my game was kind of cooked when I had to rely on challenges to like get me to the end. But for as masterful as a player Jesse is, challenges are not his forte, and so that's why we didn't go after him at final six. That's why I wanted to go Carla to go home at final five. Like I really felt like I had a good shot to beat Jesse at the challenge and at the fire. Um, so yeah, I was happy for Carla to go. I wish they had shown it, but when I held up my vote for Carla, I said, if Jesse plays his idol for you, I'm gonna poop my pants. Because there were talks of him potentially playing it on her and then them going after Cassidy. So I'm glad that didn't end up happening.
Yeah, that would have been a huge win for Carla.
Yeah, for real. That would have been very impressive if she weaseled her way out of that one.
Yeah. How much did you consider at all? Well, let's you and Cassidy won immunity challenges again at the end, so maybe you couldn't have predicted it. But at the end, you sitting next to Cassidy kind of probably hurt your underdog story just because you both had equal amount of challenge wins. So it's like, did you think about that at all and trying to overcome that with the jury?
Not really. I know like I said, I know like challenge wins as like a resume item really are not that impressive to most survivor jurors. And so I thought my underdog narrative centered more around being on the bottom. Like I thought I had to fight more and work harder to get to the end than Cassidy or Gabler did, just because they were in more of power positions with their alliances. So um to their credit, like they were able to kind of set themselves up to kind of, I don't want to say coast, but make it to the end on a more clear path than I did. So the challenge stuff was not a huge concern for mine, although I do wonder if taking her to dinner was the was the right move there, because maybe she would have been a little slower on that bowl stacking challenge if I had not fed her. So who knows.
Maybe. Yours, this cast, I think, was full of strong characters, but I also think you're a strong character, therefore, probably has a good chance of coming back. Would you come back and would you switch things up in any way? Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to play again. Absolutely. I mean, being on Survivor was a childhood dream of mine. And so to get to do it and taste it and do pretty well, but there's a lot of stuff that I wish I would have done differently and seeing how it could shake out. So yes, I would come back. I think I would want to try to be more proactive and see the whole board more than I did. I think I got very myopic out there and very in my own head, and just I was so focused on just surviving that I wasn't necessarily able to see the whole battlefield and see the moves that I could maybe make that would help ingratiate me or serve someone else's interest, because I was just so focused on like, let's not get voted out, let's not get voted out. And so I think if I were to play again, like even the puzzles are a good analogy of just taking a step back and seeing the whole thing before I made a move. So I think I would learn a lot if I were ever able to return. So I hope that happens.
Yeah. You had some big emotional moments along the way. Are you usually that way? Was it hunger? Was it stress? I'm so curious.
um, I'm not that way, to be honest. I mean, I'm a passionate person. Like I care about things, you know, whether it's sports or working out or just like anything. I get frustrated, and I said this in the after show, but I'm very hard on myself. You know, I'm a little too hard on myself, and I gave a story in confessional one time. I was like baking a cake with my mom, and I made a small mistake, and I just threw the whole thing away instead of just trying to fix it. You know, and like little things like that. It's more like frustration with myself than it is with other people. But like I said to James, I do regret kind of how I blew up at him when most of my frustration stemmed from where I was in the game. So I think it was pretty accurate to who I am. I think my friends really enjoyed the edit and could kind of see what they see sometimes. But yeah, no, I'm glad that most of the messages I have received have been like how the frustration comes off more relatable than it does like totally out of out of left field or something.
Yeah, I think yeah, the viewers can see that it really is about your position or yourself. Even with the James part, it's just you knew James was manipulating you. So I think if anyone sees through that, there's frustration there. I personally didn't blame you for how you
Thank
reacted.
you.
But yeah, so okay, you did say at the after show that you were going to be better about your confidence and everything, and then almost immediately you started doubting yourself again, and everyone had to yell at you. What are we doing now? Are we doing positive affirmations? Are we working on this at all?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the whole experience with the show has been amazing and has really built me up in a way that I didn't necessarily expect. I mean, we've already talked about the fan reactions and the narration and the possibility of playing again. Like those sorts of things have really validated a lot of my feelings that I had, because going in like as a fan, like being in the podcast circuit, like being on the Survivor Reddit, like really studying the show and being fully immersed in it, like and thinking that I could do well, and not only getting third place but also like being something of a decent character as well. Like it was very validating in many ways. So yeah, I'm trying to give myself more credit. I'm still really a tough critic of myself, but yeah, I'm working on it. And you rewatching that back last night was a good reminder.
Yeah, you're very self-aware. I love that you, maybe it's like the second episode you called yourself a lovable curmudgeon, and I
Yep.
I absolutely loved that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want fans to know? Yeah.
Um, Not really. I think my story was told very well. I'm grateful for the edit that I got. I'm grateful that um, some of the relationships I formed were shown a bit, but really just to any fans out there, like I was in your shoes a year ago. I was dying to be on the show. Like I love the show, and if that's something you want to do, just keep trying. Like it took me 6 tries to get on the show. So just if it's something you're angling for, don't give up. Give it your best shot. See what happens.
Do you do you think what do you think about the sixth time worked?
Um, that's a good question. I think honestly, like this year was the year where I sent in the tape and I was just or like prior to sending it in, prior to getting an email, I was really just like, I if this doesn't work out, I'm okay. My life is fine. I'm not gonna make getting on Survivor an obsession. I'm not gonna spend hours like researching when the best time to submit an application is, blah, blah, blah. Like I was just gonna let it ride and not put that pressure on myself and not be so hard on myself. So I think that maybe worked out karmically or something. I'm not sure.